Well, it is 5 o'clock, so we are going to get started. Thank you for attending tonight's November CSC meeting. We're going to start off by making sure everybody is in the language channel that they would like to be in. So we're going to pass it to Linguistica to read the directions on how to do that.
Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a su reunión. Queremos recordarles que como siempre tenemos interpretación simultánea al español disponible para esta reunión. Si ustedes desean escuchar la junta en español e ingresaron utilizando una computadora, en la parte de abajo de su menú de Zoom van a ver el icono de un mundo o de un globo. Por favor, selecciónenlo y seleccionen el canal de español. También pueden silenciar el audio original para que nada más escuchen la voz del intérprete. Si ustedes ingresaron utilizando un teléfono móvil o una tableta, sus opciones se ven un poco diferentes. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y buscar el menú de los tres puntitos que dice más o more en inglés, ya sea en la parte de abajo de su menú o arriba. Seleccionen esos tres puntitos, seleccionen donde dice interpretación de idioma, después seleccionen español, nuevamente silenciar el audio original y por último el botón que dice done, listo o finalizado. Si necesitan ayuda para accesar el canal, pueden dejarnos saber en el chat y con gusto les ayudamos. Ahora voy a dar esas mismas instrucciones en inglés. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your meeting. This is just a reminder that, as usual, we have simultaneous interpretation for this meeting. So, if you're a monolingual English speaker, we do ask you to please select the English channel. That way, we can communicate with each other. If you're joining with a computer, you will see a globe at the bottom of your Zoom menu. Please click on the globe and select English. If you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options may look a bit different. You need to tap your screen and find the menu with the three dots with the word more, either at the bottom or at the top of your device. Select that menu, select language interpretation, select English, and then select done. If you need any help accessing the channel, please let us know in the chat and we can gladly assist you with that. Thank you very much. I can be added to the channel now.
Thank you. And Diana, you are muted.
Thank you. This is what happens when it's been a long day and it's dark. Want to take a minute to make sure that everybody is in the language channel that they would like to be in, and that you could hear well enough. So if you are having trouble getting into the language channel, please unmute and let us know or put something in the chat. I'll give us a minute to make sure everybody can hear. Great. And if at any time during the meeting you stop being able to hear or stop being able to hear in your desired language, please interrupt us, stop us, and let us know. Also, if you get kicked out of the meeting or you drop off or something, or you need to leave and come back, you'll need to re-get into the language channel. And a final reminder, if anybody is presenting or in Spanish, you need to be in the Spanish channel so that the interpreters can interpret you and everybody can hear in the language that they would like to. Any questions about interpretation or anybody having trouble with that before we get on to our meeting? Great. Well, officially welcome to the November 2025 meeting. We were just talking about how it's now almost dark when we start our meetings. In the summer, we would end the meetings and it would still be light. So you could definitely use these meetings as a way to assess the passing of the season. So it's nice to be with you during all parts of the year. So tonight I am joined by my colleague Liz. A lot of you may know her from the Arvin Lamont meeting. She's also been at a lot of our in-person chapter meetings. So Liz is joining me today. And as always, there's some meeting logistics that we would like to share with you at the beginning. You are all really good at this. Just as a quick reminder, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself so that we don't get distracted by background noise. If you have not done so already, please change the name that's below your Zoom square to indicate if you're a CSC member or a resident or from an agency. You might see some of us either on the Harder and Company facilitation team or from the Air District renaming you. This helps us keep track of who's at the meeting, and we prioritize hearing from CSC members because this is your meeting. So we want to make sure that we know who everybody is. You are also, I think, an extremely respectful group. If you have a question you would like to ask a presenter, please raise your Zoom hand or put something in the chat. The exception to this is that if you are having trouble hearing or interpretation people, if we are speaking too fast, you don't need to be polite. Just jump in, interrupt us, jump up and down, and let us know when we can stop the meeting. The priority, obviously, is to have everybody be able to hear and understand what we're saying. If you are a resident who's participating in the stipend program, you need to participate in at least 75% or 3/4 of the meeting to be eligible. So if it's a usual 2-hour meeting like tonight, that's about an hour and a half. And finally, our agenda tonight addresses topics that were requested by CSC members and also reflect the Air District's continued commitment to the Shafter community. So we're going to start out, which we're doing right now, with the welcome and introductions. Where the next agenda item is going to be a SERP measure implementation update. So you will hear an update on a lot of the measures and where we are with funding and that kind of thing for a lot of the measures. We're going to get an air monitoring update. We have a decent amount of time to do that. We're going to hear from a couple of the Air District's air monitoring team folks for that. As requested in our last meeting, we're going to have an annual report update. The Air District does an annual report, so you'll hear from them about that. As always, at the end, we're going to do some standing updates. Today, there's a specific standing update related to a USC research study that's going on about AB 617, so you'll hear a little bit more about that in the standing updates. And then we'll end with wrap-ups and next steps. Are there any questions about the agenda before I pass it on? Okay, I'm going to pass it to Steph to give opening remarks and then Liz to kick us off with our first agenda item.
Thanks, Diana. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Ng, and I'm the Director of Community Strategies and Resources at the Valley Air District. It's really nice to see you all. I'm also reflecting, and it's dark outside. It's that time of the year, which I can't believe that it's already November, but this is a really cool time for us because we, and you'll see it later in the meeting, are in the midst of putting together annual reports for all of our AB 617 communities, and it's such a fun time of year for us to reflect on all the work that we've done together as a group. And that, I think also these meetings are such a reflection, even though we see you all a little bit less, there's still so much work for us to do together to continue to implement the SERP. So excited for all the meeting topics that we have today. I know it's a lot, so I'll go ahead and pass it back to Diana.
Thank you. And I'm going to pass it to Liz to introduce our first agenda item.
Thank you. This is Liz. So for our first discussion today, we have Sarah here from the Air District, who will share some updates to some recent progress made on the implementation of a few SERP measures. And as Sarah will share in a moment, and as you saw on the agenda, first we will hear about a proposed funding shift to the residential lawn and garden measure. After Sarah shares some of the reasoning behind this proposal, of course, ultimately the decision is yours as the CSC. So we would move to building consensus around this decision to shift these funds to the lawn and garden measure. I do have a slide that shows the consensus building process that I will just share briefly, as I know the Shafter group likes clear guidance on the consensus and potential voting process. So I will share this slide. So hopefully you see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So to reach consensus, that means that CSC members have discussed a topic and have a clear understanding and generally agree on the next steps that are being proposed. And that is understanding that not everyone will necessarily agree on every topic, but consensus requires that most people agree. And of course, all perspectives that are shared in the meeting will be included in the decision-making process and recorded in the notes. If it does come to a vote, then we also have slides that explain the voting process, but first we will try to build consensus. So after we reach a decision, either through building consensus or through a formal vote, we will have Stephanie continue on through the presentation and provide more key updates on other measures in your SERP. So as the Air District goes through each of these updates, we really encourage you to ask questions, of course, by raising your hand, or you can put it in the chat, and really just share feedback to ensure that you are well informed on these next steps. And so at this time, I'm going to pass it to Sarah to get us started on this SERP presentation.
This is Sarah. Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen. All right. Can you see my slide deck?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I wanted to start us off and go over an opportunity that we wanted to present to you all to reallocate some funds to the lawnmower replacement program. We had many CSC members ask us when our next lawnmower event will be, but at this time we don't have enough funds in this specific measure to do another event. So I wanted to bring it up to you all to do a possible reallocation. At the end of my presentation, I'll open it up for questions so I can clarify anything, and then I'll hand it over to Harder so that they could take us through the consensus building process. Okay, so I wanted to start off with an overview of the Lawnmower Exchange program. This program is to replace gas-powered lawnmowers with electric mowers at no cost to residents within the AB 617 boundary. So for events that we have in the community, we usually give out these steel electric lawnmowers that average around like $500. Residents can also go through the program on their own if they'd like. Some folks like to buy the lawnmowers on their own. Maybe they're looking for something specific or they want a different brand than steel. So that is totally possible. They can shop for it on their own. They would just have to pay for the mower out of pocket and then submit for a reimbursement, which is up to $500 per household. With the events, there are, pros to these events, which is no out of pocket for residents. So anyone within the AB 617 community who hasn't gone through the program before can show up to the event with their old gas-powered mower, and we will, take it out of the car, render it inoperable, and recycle it so that no one else can use it again, and then load up residents' cars with new zero-emission mowers, just no out-of-pocket cost to them. And these mowers the old gas-powered mowers, they do have emissions. Using a mower for just 1 hour produces as many emissions as driving a car for 300 miles. That's like if you were to go from LA to Las Vegas, like this little graphic has. So it is a long drive just by using your mower for 1 hour. And you have to realize as well, the emissions are direct on the person who's using the mower because they're so close to the device, right? Um, so in the SERP, we currently have $250,000. Well, we had $250,000 and we currently have $20,000 left. We replaced 561 mowers in the community, which is great. 322 of those mowers were from our last event that we had within your community, which is a lot, but there are still other mowers out there that can be replaced. To replace some more mowers and achieve even more emission reductions, we recommend shifting $250,000 that's currently in the locomotive replacement measure to the lawnmower measure. This would allow us to do another event in the community and would allow us to replace an additional 500 mowers. Um, the last event that we had in the community was, like I said, 322 mowers. We could do more. I think that there's a lot of people out there that still have lawnmowers in the community. So, we can push to do more than 322 this time around. And here we have a graphic to show the two options. If you all would like to reallocate funds, we could reallocate the 250,000 to the lawn and garden measure that would replace 500 mowers and get us another event in the community around, I think, spring of 2026. So maybe March or April of next year. If not, that is okay as well. We just can't have another event in the community, and we'll just finish out the mower measure, which would be about 43 more mowers. Since we won't have a event, those 43 projects will be residents that go out and buy the mower and then submit to us for reimbursement. So we calculated that would be about 43 more mowers in the community. So those are our two options: to reallocate the funds or to have the funds remain the same. I think I can open it up now to questions if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. This is Liz. Really appreciate you clearly sharing what this decision is for us tonight. So as Sarah just mentioned, at this point, we would like to hear all of your initial reactions to this proposed shift of funds, which, to summarize again, is to shift $250,000 from the locomotives measure to this lawnmower exchange program, which it sounds like it's been pretty popular in the community. But again, we definitely want to hear how this is landing. So feel free to raise your hand or put a comment in the chat and let us know what you're thinking. Are there any questions? Do you feel like you have enough information to make this decision? What generally is coming up for you right now? And I'll pause for a moment and see if we have some folks who would like to raise their hand and share some of your feedback. This is Liz. I see a couple questions in the chat. First from Bianca, where is the funding coming from? And I think it is the locomotives replacement measure, and maybe I can pass it to Sarah if you want to provide a little more context around that.
Yeah, so we're going to take the 250,000 from the locomotives measure and put it in the residential lawn and garden measure. I can look up the SERP tracker really quickly. Whoops. Let's see here to find out how much money would be left. Just give me 1 second. Oh, thank you, Nancy. Linked it for us. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so we currently have $850,000 in the locomotive measure. So we would be taking $250,000 from there to move to the lawn and garden measure.
This is Diana. Sarah, can you repeat that number again?
Yes, we currently have $850,000 in the locomotive measure. I think that was the question.
Thank you. This is Liz, and I think that should answer the question that Angie had in the chat around how much money is left in the locomotive initiative.
Yes, this is Sarah. So if we do the reallocation, we would still have $600,000 left in the locomotive measure.
This is Stephanie. Do you mind if I jump in really quickly as well as? I just actually wanted to emphasize a point that, and Michelle, feel free to unmute. Michelle from our outreach and communications team made a point, and I think this is something they experience firsthand that when they're out in the community, they get a ton of residents that are interested in this program, while they're at different events, but they really want to go through in an in-person event, this kind of one-stop shop. Um, versus actually buying and kind of waiting for the check because we do know for some folks that going through that process can be a financial burden. And so I'll just elevate that comment that Michelle made. And then I want to also get back to a question that Angie has about moving the funding in the locomotive measure. I know that you all kind of have this sense because we've talked about it a lot. It's been kind of for a couple years now that we've been slowly pulling funding out of this locomotive measure because there are challenges that we're experiencing with it. From it's a measure that we kind of have known that it is experiencing challenges. And so this is one that we pooled to do different measures like vegetative barriers. We actually moved funding from this measure also to the residential air filtration program. So it's led to a lot of great opportunities within the SERP, and we still have some funding in it left, which is why we're proposing to continue kind of with the reallocations and then move some of that locomotive funding to this lawn and garden program. When we started initially, this measure had $4.1 million. So it was quite, there was quite a bit of money in here for us to kind of do these reallocations with. Thanks, Angie. And feel free to ask questions. I know some of these things are from even like, I'm happy to repeat anything, and Sarah is too. I know some of these things are from, a ways back, even a couple years ago is when we first started reallocating from this. So feel free to pop in any questions or raise your hand. But overall, what we're seeing, I know we heard it from quite a few CSC members here in this group, and we continuously hear it when we're out at events that people really want to see another in-person event. So we think it could be a cool opportunity, and we see that need in the SERP. And so we definitely think it could be it's a good option for potential reallocation to continue to get this money out to residents and bring those air quality benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. And this is Liz. Really appreciate the questions that have come in and agree with Stephanie that you should definitely feel free to ask all of the questions that you have. I do see in the chat some support from Angie to move funds from the locomotive initiative to the residential lawn and garden measure. Really appreciate that feedback. And would love to hear from others how this is landing for you. If you have other questions and Truly, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So if you are holding back for any reason, please do feel free to raise your hand. This is definitely a time for discussion before we move to officially trying to build consensus and asking if there's any opposition to this proposed shift. Would anyone else like to share any feedback? I do see quite a few CSC members here tonight. I'll just pause for another moment to see if anyone would like to raise your hand or again share any comments in the chat about how this decision is feeling for you, whether you might want to support this reallocation, or if you maybe have some questions or concerns about that shift in funds.
This is Stephanie. Can I add one last thing of something also to ponder is since we are doing now quarterly meetings and we see each other a little bit less, our next meeting will be in February. And so I did just want to let folks know if of course, feel free to ask your questions. But I wanted to let you all know that if there is a decision that gets made tonight, what that will allow us to do is for Valley Can to start planning an event, hopefully like next spring. They can get started pretty soon. I think they're very eager to do these events and they do a really, really great job of hosting them. They're very streamlined now and they do a lot of units. I remember, and you all might too, back in the day when we used to do like 100 mowers and that was cool. They've bumped it up to like over 300 and they're really great at planning them. So if folks kind of are ready to make a decision tonight, that would allow Valley Can to get things going. And that way we can, we don't have to wait, hopefully soon, sooner rather than later, there would be another event for residents to take advantage of.
Thank you, Steph. This is Liz. Really appreciate the context around these quarterly meetings and some of the reasoning behind why we might want to make this decision tonight so that we can move forward with some of that planning if this is something that the CSE is in support of. I see a couple comments in the chat, one from Gustavo saying if residents support it, we support it, and another from Angie. Would it be possible to hold an air purifier distribution at the same time, or is that too hectic?
This is Sarah. For each lawnmower event, we do have district staff that go out from our team. So Nancy just went out on Saturday to Arvin Lamont, and then from the outreach and communications team as well. And they're there, with their vests, walking around, handing people flyers, and helping residents sign up for the Clean Air Room air purifier program. So we definitely do want to do that if we have an event in the spring.
This is Liz. That was a great question, and thank you, Sarah, for the answer. I see a comment from Bianca that we are okay to approve it. I know Bianca is, I think, with a few other residents. So maybe we are at a time in tonight's meeting where we can officially ask if there is any opposition to this proposed funding shift to add $250,000 to the lawnmower exchange program. If you do not support the shift in funds, please let us know by raising your hand or putting your comment and concerns in the chat. And I will pause for just a moment and give folks a chance. I'm not seeing any raised hands and I don't see any disapprovals in the comments, so I think that means we have reached consensus in support of shifting these funds to the lawnmower exchange event. So congratulations to everybody for moving these funds in a way that will get this program in motion to reduce air emissions in your community. I believe at this time we have Stephanie who will continue this presentation and share updates on some other SERP measures.
This is Stephanie. Awesome. Thank you all so much for your questions and feedback. We definitely look forward to these events, and so you all will be the first to know when the next one is planned in your community. I'm going to transition us a little bit. This was definitely a decision that we wanted to get in front of you all quickly, as we know we've heard that feedback. I do have a presentation that's going to take us kind of a little bit higher level over a lot of our measures. You all might remember we've done this kind of type of presentation before where we've kind of looked at a lot of the different CERT measures, how we're doing, and starting to think about for the measures that kind of like in this exact instance with lawnmowers, other opportunities that there are to continue making progress on the CERP. To kick us off, I'm actually going to, again, take a little bit of a step back and talk about kind of where we are overall with the SERP. We've made such great progress over the kind of the years that we've worked together. This bar graph that you see here kind of shows all the different measures and where we are kind of with the funding that's allocated in the SERP. We have a huge amount that's already been spent in the community. These are lawnmowers that are out being used. These are purifiers in homes. These are, vehicles that have been replaced to cleaner models. And there's also in that kind of dark green line, there's also measures that take a little bit longer to implement, but these funds are certainly set aside and committed based on feedback that we've gotten from you all. These are kind of things that we've committed, for example, in paving projects that we know take a little bit longer to do, but we have set aside these funds. They're committed to these measures that you all have supported. We also do have a good amount of funding in these measures, and I'll talk about it a little bit later in the presentation about kind of funding that's in progress. These are measures that we need a little bit more time for in terms of kind of getting applicants to apply for the program. And we also have a chunk of funding, and we're going to talk about this funding kind of the most tonight, which is kind of funding that we're still working with the CSC on, and where we see some opportunities to continue to make progress. This is just a reminder of some of the measures that we have kind of completed or committed. We have things like the bike lane and road paving project. I know you all have kind of heard the great news that the project out in La Colonia has just started and is expecting kind of to wrap up in December, which is a really awesome milestone. Things like the Dial-A-Ride program, public fleet vehicles, our Alternatives to Agricultural Burning program. These are all, everything you're seeing here are kind of things that we have either completed or else we've committed the funds to make these kind of measures happen in the community. This is a similar graphic, but just kind of showing the progress that we've made across these measures funding-wise. Again, it's a lot of funding that's out in the community on really great clean air measures that you all have supported. Now, you just saw a handful. There's a good amount of measures that are in your SERP that are completed or committed, and the CSC has made decisions on. We've kind of made kind of strategic decisions to support projects, and there are some measures that we're still working on. And kind of an approach that we've taken it in Fresno. We've also taken it in essentially most of our 8617 communities as we've gotten to this discussion closer to approaching kind of through year 5 is. Kind of just strategizing on what approach we want to take for moving forward the remainder of the measures that we have in your SERP. And something that we thought would be really helpful is to kind of continue to categorize these measures into different, we'll call them categories. You all saw it in buckets last year, which I know that wording kind of sounded funny. So we're going with categories, but essentially the thought behind it is the same, and that these measures will be categorized together based on how we want to approach the work with them. And that'll make a little bit more sense as I kind of dig through them. The first category that we have is measures that we want to continue funding until they're complete. And that's something that we want to continue kind of through February 2026. And we think it'd be a good idea to kind of keep reassessing on a yearly basis. The second category is to measures that we actually see kind of evidence of lack of interest or a need in the SERP that we want to work with you all to think about ways that we can use the funding on other emission reducing projects in the community. And so that'll take us to category 3, which are measures that, we see a lot of evidence of interest. You all just underwent that with the lawn and garden. We see a lot of interest and we see a lot of support. And so that's why we've worked with you to reallocate those funds. And then the 4th category are ones that we really want to ramp up outreach with you all and stop funding new projects kind of come February of 2026. And so that might have seemed a little bit vague. I know I'm speaking in just kind of terms. I'm going to dig into each one of these categories so you have kind of a sense of what each one has. And so in the first bucket of categories, we have measures like the residential air filtration, our residential vehicle replacement, the residential vehicle repair, the measure that we have that replaces wood burning devices, and low dust nut harvesters. These are all measures that we want to continue to fund beyond February of 2026 with the remaining allocation that's in the SERP, and we want to reassess them in a year. And the reasoning behind this is, the majority of these are residential incentive measures. And so these, you might realize in looking kind of in the list that some of these programs actually opened a couple years after the SERP was finalized. And so it was only, we kind of worked together on the SERP. It took us a couple years to kind of work out the guidelines, opening up the program. And so some of these programs, for example, like residential air filtration, passenger vehicle replacement, those are all ones that would definitely benefit from additional time for residents to apply because overall we're seeing that these programs are going well. They would just benefit from extra time for people to apply to the program. For these residential measures, they are also, we want to continue to work with you all on outreach. We're certainly not saying that, that these are measures that we think, are good and they can just keep going. We want to continue to work with different partners in the community, community-based organization, and the CSC to continue to push outreach for all of these measures. I just wanted to pull out an example of a way that we're continuing to kind of work on outreach for these programs. One of these being, which is a really, really popular program in the community, is our Clean Air Rooms program. And so that's the program, again, to give away free in-home purifiers to residents in the Boundary. I just want to definitely let you all know that every day, I know we're working with our outreach team, our grants and incentive team to start to brainstorm about how we can continue to get this funding out into the community. And this is just one example of that, which is we actually did put together a kind of a cool and interesting, it's called a heat map. And what you're seeing in that map is kind of the brighter yellow color is a darker concentration, or more applications that we received for the program. And so this is kind of telling us that there are certain areas that maybe we got a lot of applications, and potentially there are some areas that maybe could use a little bit more work and a little bit more focus. And so we definitely want to kind of look through these areas, see what other ways that we can continue to expand outreach efforts. And if you all are looking at this map and you're maybe seeing some areas that you think we should see more applications, we definitely want to work with you all on that. Are there events happening in certain places? Are there community groups that it could be a Boy Scout troop or some local club that maybe wants to do a mini grant? I know we've talked about that before, but if there's groups that want to do local outreach, flyering, door to door, we certainly have program and funding for folks to do that outreach because there's definitely funding and opportunities to get more of these purifiers out to the community. The second category of measures that we have are ones that will be very familiar to you all because these are certainly ones that we've kind of discussed challenges that we've experienced with them. These are measures that we're kind of seeing for a whole variety of reasons, either lack of interest or especially kind of with different state and federal kind of changes. A big challenge on the mobile source side and enforcing a lot of these kind of the transition for these technologies. And so these are ones, again, that we definitely want to continue to work with you all to think about ways that we can get this funding into other emission reducing projects that are in the Boundary. Some of these, and I'll say them again just for so everyone is aware, these are like heavy duty trucks. And Also, railcar switchers, those are two measures that I know we've talked about some of the challenges before, that we've actually kind of been making good progress in finding other areas that could benefit from this funding. We just did the reallocation for the residential lawn and garden program. We also pretty recently, the CSC supported moving some of that truck funding into low dust nut harvesters, which are a huge emission reduction benefit in the community. And then we also have yard trucks and truck refrigeration units, which we're also seeing kind of a lack of application and a lack of interest in this program. And this is about 4.3 million that we have in this category of measures. And the third category that we have is measures that we've kind of seen evidence of interest, we've seen need, that we can think about moving some of this funding that we saw in the category just previous to this, where we're seeing a lot of challenges, moving some of that funding into measures that we see the demand, we see the interest, we see the need in the community. And some of these I'll get into more detail in a couple of slides, but one of those is actually the ag equipment measure that we have in the SERP. Pretty early on, we expended all the funds for that measure because there was a high interest and a high need in the community. And that's something that we still continue to see, that I'll talk about a little bit more and later in the presentation. And another one that we already actually discussed is an opportunity for residential lawn and garden, of moving more funding in here, which we already heard that there's support in the community for that. And the last thing is, of course, to continue to work with you all to explore additional opportunities for emission reduction projects that benefit the community that maybe might not be included in the SERP yet. Before I get into, I have a couple of slides that digs into kind of one of the specific measures. I might take a second and pause and see if there's any questions that have come up before I continue on.
Go ahead, Gustavo.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Gustavo Aguirre with Central California Asthma Collaborative, or CCAC. Thank you so much for the overview, and kind of digging a little bit into the tracker. Um, my question is, I think, kind of linked to previous questions when we're revisiting the tracker. And I know in the past there's been models or modeling based on the emissions that would or could be reduced based on the level of investment that has gone to each of the strategies or programs. However, with like a couple years already of air monitoring, specific or additional air monitoring in Shafter, um, like I don't know if we need to make like a formal request, or just if this is something that could be prepared, but kind of doing a historical air quality from pre AB 617 to current AB 617 with investment money. I know maybe there hasn't been enough um, change locally in the community to evidence emission reductions, or maybe there has been, and we don't know. But um, has there been, and I know I don't attend as much meetings as I should, but has there been any follow-up on like the real emission reductions since revisiting this? I think the last time asked this was maybe a year ago. But yeah, my question is based on that. Like, how can we revisit the track of the community air monitoring that's happening, or the additional air monitoring that's happening in Shafter, and how that looks like pre AB 617 before all these investments went in?
This is Stephanie. I love that question, Gus, and I want you to know that we are working on that. So we regularly come to you all, and it's going to happen tonight as well, bring to you all quarterly air monitoring updates. But I think, Gus, what you're maybe hinting at is maybe kind of a longer term trend analysis of all of this data. And just so you all know, and I know our monitoring team is here. We've been working actually for a few months on kind of a longer term analysis now that we have been collecting so much of the community air monitoring network, or sorry, community air monitoring data within the network. And we are working on kind of finalizing those slides. I'm hoping probably early next year that's something that we will plan to present to the CSC, and certainly something that we'll look to also add to the annual report too, is starting to look at these longer, we have been looking at these longer term trends, and then now like working with you all to kind of look at that data and understand it. So no need to put in any formal request. I want you all to know that we're working on it, and hopefully early next year we'll kind of have that longer term analysis to share with you all. But I want you all to know that, the data is always available, and tonight you'll even get kind of an update on this last quarter of data.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. This is Liz, and we can also add that as an action item, even though we know that the Air District was planning on bringing this more long-term analysis early next year, but we can add that to our tracker as well. And I see a hand up from Bianca, and I think that must be related to the comment you shared in the chat. The ladies don't want any more to the ag equipment. Feel free to unmute and share more. Bianca, if you are talking, you're still muted. There you go.
Sorry, there's another. I have the Spanish in the other side, and I have my headset. Sorry. So I do have a question. I know that for the ag equipment, there's zero amount, but since last year we had asked the Air District to give us an analysis of where these machineries are given out. There were some that were given out in the very edge of the boundary, which we really never saw any emission reduction. So we want to make sure that whatever was given properly, where it would affect residents itself, not just the boundary in general, but just residents. We had classified A, B, and C. I can't remember what meeting it was, but I'll follow up with my notes. So I want to make sure that for the ag equipment that was given out was specifically given out to the emission target of like the city limits, and then the boundary outside that would be affecting like La Colonia, Smith Corners, Charogood Strip too. So I don't know if somebody from the Air District could provide that information before deciding. And they had a question, because we had a lot of over talking right now about the residential. What was the comment about the residential? They were going to give more for the residents or giving less to the residents? That was just a question they were mentioning.
This is Stephanie. I can start with the first one. I might need some clarification on the second question. Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that question about kind of the request about some of the equipment. So as a reminder, I know that it's generally been a question about where some of this equipment has been used. And so we did put together a map about where, and I think this was specific to the low dust nut harvesters. We did end up putting together a map that we shared out with community members, and all of the harvesters that were replaced are within the boundary, and they operate within the boundary. I know it's a big boundary, and so, it could be the case that there are probably a lot more units and equipment out there that are operating still within that 7 mile boundary. It is a big area, but all of the equipment that we've replaced has been in the boundary and is providing, those air quality benefits within the boundary. I'm
Yeah,
more
the
clarification on this. Oh, go ahead, Bianca.
yes, we did get that analysis before voting for the second reallocation for the nut harvesting or the ag equipment. So that's something that I do remember. we got that information before that second disbursement was given out. Now with the new one, we would like to have a refresher to see how many
Okay.
are in the target areas that we were choosing
Yeah.
from A, B, and C. A being more concentrated where the population is, as in the city limit
Yeah.
in Shafter. Be outside of the boundaries that would be concentrated maybe outside of some of the homes that are in the fields or so. And the third one, and C, would be outside closer to the edge of the 7 mile radius.
This is Stephanie. I see. So you're asking about this proposal now, which that's perfect segue because I actually have a map later in this presentation that I can share.
And here in the room, I do have the ladies voting no more for ag equipment. So they're not for it until we get the full report. So they are able to analyze it and go from there.
This is Stephanie. Yeah, I wanted to make sure folks didn't have any other questions, but I have a good handful of slides about the tractors, so you'll get more information. So I'm gonna keep moving.
Steph, this is Liz, it might be helpful to remind folks that we're not going to be making any other decisions in tonight's meeting. So
Yeah.
we had that one decision to build consensus about the lawn and garden equipment, and the rest of this presentation is more general updates to kind of set the stage for any future decisions that'll be made. So keep the questions coming, and just wanted to make that clear.
This is Stephanie. That's such a great point, Liz. That's why Sarah and I presented separately. Lawn and garden is certainly something we've talked about in depth in this meeting, and so we figure that and we've heard some good support for it. But I know this is a new kind of topic we're discussing, so I'm going to provide a lot of information. But like Liz said, we're happy to take any questions and continue the conversation with you all. And so the reason why we are thinking about kind of tractor projects within the Shafter boundary is it is a huge opportunity for significant emission reductions to the community. This is one of the most cost-effective grant programs that we actually run, and that's kind of a little jargony term, but essentially kind of what that means is that for the dollars that we spend in the program, we get a lot of emission reductions from it. We're also seeing a huge demand and a need and kind of a lack of funding in this program. And so we know that there are a lot of tractor replacements that can't happen, that really aren't happening right now due to lack of funding. And additionally, there aren't regulatory requirements for these replacements. And so in this space, incentives are really the opportunity that we have to ensure that this equipment gets replaced to a kind of cleaner models and cleaner units. So Bianca asked a question about where we could potentially see these projects, and so definitely we want to continue to think about how we can maximize these local air quality benefits with projects in the boundary. There are at this time 31 projects that are pending in the community. Some of those that are within that kind of center city core boundary, and then the remainder of them are within the buffer area, which makes sense because I think, as we all know, that's where a lot of the agricultural area is kind of in that surrounding area. And it's definitely important for us to continue to think about the emission reduction benefits that we could see in the boundary as a result of this measure. This is, the core thing that we're working on together in this program is to continue to reduce those emissions to improve local air quality. And so through these tractor projects, we could see an estimated, so there are 31 again. And just NOx alone, we could see an estimated 64 tons of emissions reduced. There's also PM and VOCs associated with that, with the total reduction for those projects somewhere in the estimated range of about 77 tons. And just for some perspective, this is you might be wondering, what does 65 mean, like kind of relative to things? Just for comparison with another kind of, program that's in your SERP, the vehicle replacement program, for example, which gets off a ton of vehicles off the road, we're looking at about 2.88 tons of NOx. And so for this to be 64, this is a huge amount of reductions that impact the boundary, something like 20 something times the emission reduction benefit. And so replacing these tractors definitely will have an impact on kind of local air quality, which is again definitely the goal that we want to be working towards through this program. Something else to think about as well is we do kind of through the measures that we kind of saw that were kind of, challenging measures that we aren't seeing as much interest in, things like locomotives, or sorry, the rail car movers and switchers, heavy duty trucks. Those are also measures that, were prioritized because they have a lot of emission reducing benefits. So definitely with us facing challenges with those measures, we want to continue to seek out measures that continue to reduce a lot of emissions. And tractors is definitely a good space and where we see a lot of need. And so, like Liz mentioned, this is not a decision right now, but something that we want to tee up is we do have an opportunity here in the SERP to reallocate funds to support a measure that can have real, clean air benefits to the community. A decision that the CSC can look towards is moving funding from measures that we're seeing a lot of challenges with, that we haven't been able to move forward, those category 2 measures. So that would be, again, heavy duty trucks, rail car movers and switchers, yard trucks. That would be about $4.3 million. And moving that to support tractor replacement projects that improve air quality in the Shafter community. And maybe I'll stop there because I do have 2 last slides that take us through, I know, a topic that's really interesting and prioritized by folks, which is vegetative barriers. But I'm happy to stop here to take any feedback that folks might have. Or as Liz is mentioning, if you just need whatever information that you all might have or questions that you all might have, I'd love to hear them because I'd love to. I know this is our first time kind of talking about this in a while, and so I'd love to bring back any information that folks might want to know more about. Yeah, and hear any questions that you all have.
This is Liz. Just want to pause for another moment to see if there are questions. I do see Bianca shared in the chat. Can we see how much funds are left in the green barriers? Looks like that's the next slide. So maybe before we get to talking about those vegetative barriers and urban greening, we just want to see if there are any questions that you have for the Air District about this potential decision that you might make next year around shifting funds from some of those category 2 measures to I forget what you were proposing, Steph. Could you maybe share that slide again? Looks like the tractor replacement project. So some of those agricultural measures. Thank you. And I do see a question from Bianca. So how much did the grower from La Colonia how much did they apply for?
This is Stephanie. I do think Bianca's asking about, we have someone who's potentially interested in the La Colonia area, who's interested in applying for vegetative barriers. They have not submitted their application yet, so we don't know the exact amount yet, but I can certainly give an update once we have that.
I'm not seeing any hands up. Oh, go ahead, Bianca. And I think for now, the questions that we're taking are more about shifting funds to the tractor replacement. And then in a moment, we'll get to the green vegetative barriers.
My question is in regards, sorry, my son is over here. Um, my question is in regards to the tractors. Did you guys also offer the tractors to the grower for them to apply for it too, or is it completely overexhausted and there's no money left for the tractors for La Colonia?
This is Stephanie. Sorry, can you repeat your question once more, Bianca? Did we do outreach on the
Um,
tractors to La Colonia?
when you met with a grower, I don't know, I'm seeing at Sarah, I'm looking at Sarah right now because she was the one that was here. Um, when she met with the grower, you guys only offered the application for the green vegetative barriers or also for the truck replacement program too?
Hey, this is Sarah. When we met with the grower around La Colonia, we actually did not and still do not have funding for the tractor replacement program, so we did not talk to them about that program. If we do want to move funds to replace tractors, we can have that conversation with them. I know that that's a really popular program, so I feel like they would they would like that.
I think being very intentional where these tractors are gonna be looking for, it's important. I know that the green barriers have been a very talked about conversation in this setting and in other communities. So if they have extra funding as a tractor or something, that would be, but it would be an intentional applicant. It wouldn't be just generalizing to everybody because after seeing the map where communities are residing and where these applications are it's very far away from residents. So in reality, they really are not benefiting as much, even though the boundary is extended to include other folks. But these growers that are outside of like the populated area are the ones that are being applied, that are the ones that are applying for this program. So I don't know. I would have to follow up with the ladies here, but that's one of the thoughts that I did have that if it was a reallocation, it has to be very intentional to these exact growers that are open to do the vegetative barriers.
This is Stephanie. I do have a couple thoughts. If it's okay, I'll actually share my screen because I do want to. The map was a little hard to look at because it was zoomed out. The buffer is pretty big, but I do want to let folks know that we actually, to Bianca's point about just maybe wanting to make sure that there's applicants in certain areas through the boundary, I did just want to, are people seeing my screen?
Yes.
I do want to just make sure that folks are aware that, there's lots of these projects and applications that are kind of with very close to where a lot of folks are living, including the La Colonia area. So I just want to make sure that that was clear if it was hard to tell in the map. Um, and certainly, I hear Bianca what you're saying of wanting to make sure that there are certain applicants. I know there's a couple of really high priority areas in the boundary, but I certainly don't want to discount the fact that the projects all that are happening within the boundary will benefit, the boundary overall. We'll see those air quality improvement benefits, but definitely do hear you that we want to certainly, continue to prioritize outreach and prioritize efforts to make sure that there's, these areas that we want to see a lot of improvements in are definitely pulled into the process as well. If there are no other questions, what I'd like to propose is for folks to we'll send the slide deck out, and I'd love for folks to let us know if there's any questions in the meantime, but this is certainly something that we can plan to bring back in our next meeting, because it is something that as we kind of, get further and further into this process, we definitely want to continue to be strategic about spending these funds. I know we talked about kind of, and you all, I hope you all got our email that this legislative season and this last year's budget was a difficult one. We're really lucky because we did see in the end continued funding, but this program is definitely one that when we talk about it to, the legislators out, in Sacramento and all of that, like folks want to see definitely want to continue to see these emission reduction benefits and the air quality improvements. And so that's definitely something I want to continue to emphasize and talk to you all about all the opportunities that we could have in the SERP. And so we can continue to talk about this and let me know if you all have any questions between kind of now and the next meeting. And actually, I was about to end the presentation. I have two last slides of which I think are actually ones that folks definitely want updates on. And so I'm going to wrap this up. Bianca asked a question about the vegetative barrier program. And so the final category that we have is what measures measures in here. We definitely want to ramp up outreach and work with you all on different opportunities to really get the word out about these programs. One that we really want to focus on because we know it's such a high priority measure to folks on the CSC is the vegetative barrier program. And so we definitely in the next couple of months want to work with you all closely. As a reminder of kind of where we're at with this measure, we thank you all for all of the hard work over the last few months to kind of move forward the urban greening and vegetative barrier measure. We are working to process applications for a vegetative barrier project in Lerdo and urban greening projects, which is so exciting. We'll definitely continue to give you all updates as those projects unfold. And with that, we have about 500K remaining in this measure that we want to continue again to work with you on. I know Bianca, we've worked with Bianca to attend a meeting that she helped kind of coordinate with the grower in the area. And so we definitely want to continue this outreach. So let us know if there are areas that we want to focus in this outreach on. There's a couple of orchards and kind of agricultural areas that we've gotten feedback already that we'll continue to do outreach on. But please, 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 this is something that we know is a high priority to you all. So let us know if you have any leads, excuse me, any contact information. And we certainly want to continue working with you all on outreach for this. And that was the end of the slides. Happy to take any questions that folks might have. If there are none, I'll pass back to Liz and Diana.
And this is Diana. Thank you and appreciate all of your engagement. One of the things I love the most about these meetings is how much you all, even at the end of a very busy day when it's dark outside, pay attention and are really have the health and air quality of your community at the top of your mind. So thank you again. And related to that, I'm now going to pass it to Mohammed and Shay from the Air District's air monitoring team, and they're going to share information related to three specific air quality areas. So air quality trends from the last quarter. As Steph said, you get these air monitoring updates every quarter, so that's what this will mostly be. There was also a request in one of the past CSC meetings about air quality related to July 4th. So that will be in there. And then also talking about new air monitoring in the La Colonia Pocket Park. So air monitoring is obviously very, very important to all of the work that the CSC does. So please make sure that all of your questions get answered. And with that, I will now pass it to the air quality monitoring team.
All right, thank you, Diana, and good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. My name is Chai Tao. I'm the program manager of air monitoring here at the Air District, and I'll just do a brief introduction here, and then we'll have Mohammed take care of the rest of the presentation. Mohammed is our air quality instrument tech, and he's the primary person that's taking care of overseeing all the air monitoring equipment in the Shafter area there. So, do we have the presentation up?
I see it now.
All right, perfect. So we'll be going over just a quarter three, which covers from July to September, and this will just be an update on that. And if you go next slide, please. And so we'll just briefly go over the status of the community of the air monitoring plan implementation. Then we'll go over review all the data that we've collected so far for this quarter. And then we'll just conclude it with questions and comments and any recommendations that the CSC may have. So just really brief here, and I'll have Mohammed really give all the details in the next following slides. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mohammed Mian. As Shai stated, I'm the person responsible for maintaining and upkeep of all the equipment in Shafter. Today, I will be presenting an update on Shafter community. The first slide that we will be going over is the camp implementation status. As of now, all plan monitoring sites have been deployed in the Shafter community. The final PM 2.5 monitor was installed at the new La Colonia Park in September, which replaced the low-cost monitor by Clarity that we deployed last year in July. Next slide, please. The following images show examples of our air monitoring equipment. On the left is a monitor that measures particulate matter in micrograms per meter cube. This is a similar equipment that was deployed at the La Colonia Park. On the right is a compact multi-pollutant monitor. This unit includes ozone, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, and carbon monoxide. The next slide, please. The image on the left shows the deployment of the compact multi-pollutant air monitor in conjunction with a particulate matter monitor, while the image on the right shows one of our trailers, which contains units that measure particulate matter, ozone, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, as well as meteorological data. The combination unit that you see deployed on the left is something that is deployed at Shafter Sequoia, and the trailer is a similar trailer that is deployed at the Farm Labor Center. Next slide, please. The image shows the community air monitoring man, which is deployed per request from the community. Next slide, please. So ongoing community air monitoring. District continuing to conduct localized air monitoring in Shafter community, deployed the final PM 2.5 monitor at La Colonia on September 18, 2025 at the La Colonia Pocket Park. Air monitoring van is available to monitor pollutants in area of interest to the community and near recommended sites locations for network design. Lab analysis of air samples continues for PM 2.5 as well as VOC classification. Shafter DMV site was down due to a minor fire. After the facility made the necessary repairs, PM 2.5 was reestablished at the site on 11/3/25. Next slide, please. Shafter air monitoring update. Following is a summary of the air monitoring data. Particulate matter during Q3 has shown general improvement over the years. Daily PM 2.5 values remain below 24-hour federal standard. Data from all sites in Shafter community are available at your community portal. Yes, I'm going to slow down. Sorry.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. PM 2.5 quarterly average comparison. Generally improved air quality. Okay. Do you want me to slow that even down further?
The pace you were just going at was good.
Okay. So generally, air quality has improved over the years. This bar chart shows the average PM 2.5 for quarter three over the years, starting from 2019. The x-axis, which is the horizontal axis, shows the community sites with the bar color representing the year, while the y-axis, vertical axis, shows the quarterly average PM 2.5 value in micrograms per meter cube. The dotted line across the chart is the 2024 federal annual standard of 9 microgram. The sites shown on the right-hand side within the blue box are the closest regulatory monitoring sites for reference. Overall, PM 2.5 has trended downwards over the years, mostly staying below the annual federal standard. Next slide, please. PM 2.5 daily averages. This chart shows PM 2.5 daily averages for Q3, July through September. The horizontal axis shows the date. The vertical axis shows the daily average PM 2.5 concentration in microgram. The gray shaded area is the highest PM 2.5 values recorded last year, while the colored lines represent the daily average values from each of the community's sites. The dotted lines are the two nearby regulatory sites. The multicolor background represents the different air quality levels, green representing good, yellow representing moderate, and orange representing unhealthy for sensitive groups. Overall, PM 2.5 was mostly lower than last year, mostly staying below the federal 35 microgram standard. The dotted line that you see on the right part of the screen that's coming down, that is a regulatory site that is outside the community boundary, but was included for reference purposes.
This is Diana. Mohammed, could we stop for a second? Bianca,
Yes.
I think you're not hearing everything, or Bianca, can you say a little bit more about what you're not hearing? Or anybody else who's in the Spanish channel? And Bianca, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Is there anyone else who's in the Spanish channel? Okay. So Bianca, it sounds like it's now okay. Can somebody in the Spanish channel confirm that we're good now? Okay. I see a thumbs up. Okay. Thank you. I'll pass it back to you, Mohammed. Thank you for pausing.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Per request by the community, this chart shows the average hourly PM 2.5 concentration from all the community sites and chapter from July 3rd through July 5th. The time and date is on the x-axis, while the y-axis shows the hourly PM 2.5 concentration averages. As shown in the chart, PM 2.5 levels were mostly lower in 2025 compared to 2024 during the same period. In 2024, there was more stagnant air and less dispersion, which contributed to the higher PM 2.5 levels, among other potential factors. Next slide, please. La Colonia BAM 1022. This year, we deployed a BAM 1022 at the new La Colonia Park on September 18, 2025. The new unit is more accurate, regulatory grade PM 2.5 monitor that replaces the lower cost clarity low cost monitor we used last year. The low cost monitor was helpful because it let us quickly start tracking PM 2.5 levels without needing any electrical infrastructure. When we compared the data from the two monitors, we saw similar trends, but the clarity, the low cost monitor readings were generally higher. Next slide, please. This graph shows the difference between the low-cost monitor and the new BAM 1022 that was deployed in September. As we can see, both units trend well together. However, the low-cost monitor has higher readings than the BAM 1022. The BAM 1022 is a regulatory grade monitor which is certified and routinely calibrated. The unit uses consumables and has maintenance performed on a weekly basis to ensure accurate raw data. The clarity, on the other hand, has no such maintenance or calibration options to ensure data accuracy. Although not as accurate, it helps provide a general idea and trend of PM 2.5 levels. Do we have any questions up till this part?
This is Diana. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute and ask Mohammed or put your question in the chat. I'm not seeing anything, Mohammed, so I think you can
Okay.
continue. Thank you for pausing.
Now I will pass it along to Michelle and our outreach and communications team to go over the next few slides.
If you guys can advance, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Rivera. I am part of the outreach and communications team at the Valley Air District. And I'm just going to be going over some information of what we do during our air quality episodes or how we communicate this information to the public. So this is just related to this presentation. And if we have time at the end of our meeting during standing updates, I can give you guys a little bit more of an update of what we've been doing in the community as well. So what we do during an air quality episode is that we do distribute news releases. So this goes to all news outlets. So whether you're in the southern area of the valley, whether you're in central or northern, everyone gets the same news release. We also post information to our social media channels. So wherever it is that you're finding our information, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, we're also on Threads. Everything is posted there and it's all pretty similar along all of those different platforms. So these are just screenshots of some of that information. And the Spanish group should also have copies of these. We also email these out to the CSC and community members if they're on our listserv. So you guys should be getting this information as soon as it is also sent out to our media partners. And we also do keep our health departments and school notified. So as soon as something goes out as well, we are also sending all of this information to our schools and to our health departments. We do meet with our health departments regularly and we do communicate with them regularly. So just know that they are also in the loop. Next slide, please. So these are just screenshots of our different social media platforms that we use. So you might have seen these on, I believe the left one is on Facebook, or maybe they're both next door. So this is something that like one of our coworkers has posted on Nextdoor, and then Heather, who's our manager, has also posted. So whether it's a wildfire or, if we are expecting an increased activity like something like 4th of July, this is the type of information that you would be seeing. Next slide, please. And how to file an air pollution complaint. These complaints can be filed online, by phone, or by using the Valley Air app. Again, complaints are responded to 365 days a year. Your information is always confidential. And when you give us a call or send us an email, just know that we will put you in touch with an air quality inspector and they will be assigned the case. You can also communicate with them directly. The phone number is here as well as the web page. But you guys have also gotten our magnets, which also gives you information and gives you the QR codes if you would like to also do those online. If you guys need any of that information or would like duplicates, please feel free to reach out to us. We can always send you new ones. Next slide, please. And then I'm going to pass it back to Mohammed.
Sorry about that. I lost my mouse for a second. The community air quality data. District AB 617 page is available at community.valleyair.org. You can select chapter and then you can filter by which site you would like to see. Real-time data is available from all of our sites. Data from all of our events and quarterly reports are available on the website as well. CARB's statewide air quality data portal display is all data that is collected by us and other sites that are regulatory sites in nearby, and all of that data can be seen on CARB's AQView website. And comments and questions.
This is Diana. Thank you, Mohammed and team. I want to start, Bianca, to make sure that you got your question answered that you put in the chat about how the harvesting season is recording, especially in La Colonia. And then it seems like folks from the air monitoring team responded in the chat and want to make sure that that answered your question. This is Diana. Bianca. If you are responding, you are on mute. And this is Diana again. So Bianca added another question in the chat. Is the PM 2.5 available? And it looks like she just checked the
Yes.
website.
It should, the data is available in the my response. I included a link to directly to the La Colonia page. If you look, let that page load, you can see the graph for the data coming in, and you can scroll back in time using the calendar to see different days on it.
And I could go on. Sorry, Steph.
Thanks, Diana. This is Stephanie. I just popped on the website too and popped around on a few days throughout over the last few months, and I can see all the data. But if Bianca, there's a specific day you're not seeing the data, let us know and we can take a look at it.
This is Diana. Other questions for the air monitoring team? Oh, it sounds like Bianca is looking in the app and cannot see those. So I'm not sure if somebody could talk about the differences and maybe what one could see in the app versus on the website.
But what if the app is something a little bit different? It's not going to our website on that location. You're talking about the air quality app, but that might not be pulling up the community air monitoring sites. It's maybe for the regulatory sites.
This is Diana. So it sounds like the best way to see specific locations and air monitoring things is to go to the website versus the app. Is that what your recommendation is?
Correct. And there's a specific website and page, I think that Mohammed placed in there. And that's also at the end of this presentation. You'll see that link in there. And that points links to all of the air monitoring stations, community air monitoring stations for the Shafter community. So that one should have it all.
This is Diana. Thank you. And it looks like Nancy just posted the link again that links you directly to the Shafter community air monitoring site. Thank you. Any other questions for the air monitoring team? Well, thank you. Those are always very informative and appreciate that. Oh, sorry. Bianca said it's in level 2 for PM 2.5.
You're looking at the Valley Air app. It shows RON values. Those are calculated averages and based off of EPA standards. If you would like to look at the actual data from each site, you will have to visit the web page that Nancy just linked. That will take you directly to the La Colonia webpage so you can see hourly PM 2.5 data.
This is Diana. Thank you, Mohammed. Bianca, does that answer your question? Sounds like you need to go to the website.
This is Sarah. I can share my screen really quickly. I clicked on the link that was shared, and it should take you to Shafter, specifically La Colonia, and then today you can see the real-time data and the values. So as the day goes on, it'll get filled out. And then you can use this toggle right here to go back and to go forward.
This is Diana. Thank you, Sarah. And it seems like if you click on that little calendar, you could go to any other specific day.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I think in the interest of time, I'm now going to move us on to the next agenda item. Feel free to reach out to the Air District if you ever have any other questions about air monitoring. So I'm going to pass it to Liz to give a very brief next steps about the annual report.
Thank you. This is Liz. I don't want to take up too much time. I know the annual report is something very important to the CSC. I know folks really take the time to review and provide your feedback. So I think I will pass it to, is it Sarah from the Air District? Maybe just quickly share some of the ways that people can provide their feedback outside of this meeting.
Thanks, Liz. This is Sarah. For the past couple of weeks, Rocio and the team have been working hard to put together the annual report, and it highlights many important events and milestones for your community. Later on this week, we will email it over. We will email over a link to the story map, and it is like an interactive report. If you would like something like in a PDF format, just let us know and we can email that to you as well. And it is in English and it just got finished getting translated in Spanish. So we do have English and Spanish, and we'll send it over and you guys will have a couple weeks to review it. I'll just share my screen really quickly to show you how it works. It starts off with a cover page and then you just scroll down. It'll give you an overview of all the AB 617 communities and AB 617 in general. And then it will go through 5 different highlights for your community, starting off with the La Colonia paving project. And it is the same in Spanish, same format and everything. And like I said, if you cannot access this story map interactive version, just let us know and we can send you just the text so you can review. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. This is Liz. Could you quickly share the deadline for folks to submit their feedback to you all?
This is Sarah. We haven't set a deadline yet. We will put it in the email. We're thinking like 2 or 3 weeks so that everyone has enough time to read through it all. Thank you.
This is Diana. So everybody should look forward to getting an email from the Air District with the annual report and a timeline for your response. And I know you all in the past have given great feedback, so please continue to do that. This is I love looking at these reports and being reminded of all the amazing work you've done over the past year. So please make sure that you think that that is all reflected in the report. With that, I'm going to move us to one of my favorite parts of all of the meetings, the standing updates. So as a reminder, the purpose of these are to hear from people and organizations who are doing work in the Shafter community that impacts air quality and health. So you had a special update today is going to kick us off. So it's from the USC Equity Research Institute, and it's related to their AB 617 program evaluation. If that sounds familiar, it's because, yes, indeed, you have heard from them before. And today they're with us to share more opportunities for you all to be involved in their work. So I'm going to pass it to the USC team to present. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having us. My name is Connie Valencia. I am with the ERI, the Equity Research Institute, and I'm here today with Jimena Sanchez and also Vanessa Carter Faunestock, and we're here to present on the AB 617 evaluation chapter, CSC outreach. If somebody can please help me with the slides, or
This is Diana. Is somebody not, are you trying to share and not able to do that, or?
do we share them? I thought that, okay.
Oh, unless you, I could be wrong.
Connie, I have them queued up if you want me to share screen.
Oh, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank
Can you
you.
see?
And
Good.
yes, thank you. Okay, next slide. Thank you. And so before I continue, I just want to provide an overview to this presentation is going to focus on past research on AB 617, our evaluation plan, background research on chapter, and the discussion. From past research, that has been done in chapter. This includes a list on work that has been done in the past, including work from Jonathan London on inclusion and authority. And this provides just a list of an overview of just different studies, these research projects that have been done, including on different themes, including collaboration and conflict, industry presence and, and influence, funding instability and distribution challenges, representation and struggles with aggressive implementation timelines. Um, so once again, this is just based on studies that have been done on a chapter as a community of which is a focus of the community of chapter. Um, there was a recently Jonathan London met with us and he mentioned that he is willing to do a Zoom call with you to share the results from the study focused on equitable processes. Um, and so if you guys are I encourage you guys to if you guys are interested, please follow up and in case you would like to know more about this study. And before I continue, I would like to mention that I am part of a larger team. The this list the names of all the research research team members, and members are from 5 different universities, including UC Berkeley, USC, Occidental College, UC Santa Cruz, and UC San Diego. We were contracted by CARB to conduct this evaluation in AB 617. And the evaluation is focused on the following evaluation principles: to elevate equity in the evaluation process, to employ an evaluation approach that is participatory and collaborative, and because of the multiple studies, minimize additional work by stakeholders and residents in AB 617 communities and the steering committees. The evaluation is based on the analysis of 5 communities at the end of their SERP implementation that focus on process as well as outcomes and includes practical recommendations for data collection and a framework for future evaluation of the program. The outcomes of the evaluation that focus on process and outcomes, including temporal assessment of air quality and emissions, recommendations for future data collection efforts that can support evaluations of the CAP going forward, an evaluation process in which community members' feedback is reflected in the research and that yields information that support their ongoing work to address air quality challenges, enhance their collaboration with air districts and CARP, and shape future improvements of the CAP. And finally, to provide a framework for future evaluation of the CAP. The evaluation objectives include their focus on how communities experience AB 617. And so as you can see, there are five main evaluation objectives. And they're based on monitoring objectives, um, assessing. I'm sorry, I can barely see the the some of the wording, so I apologize. Um, but as you can see, there are five main ones, and they are focused on evaluating, but also assessing. Um, Hold on, I'm sorry. Can you make it bigger, a little bit bigger? I don't know if that's possible, Vanessa.
I can't make it bigger and have both on the screen.
Okay. Um, okay, that's fine. And so just hold on.
This is Diana. Vanessa, if you go to, or Connie, if you go to where the screen is being shared, there's three little dots right there, and you could make yours bigger just for
Okay.
you, and
Hold
then
on.
we should still be able to see
Okay, I
the
actually
full
put on
screen.
my glasses, so
Okay, that works too.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the evaluation is based on overarching objectives articulated in SERPs from study communities, assess progress and outcomes, assess whether and how the program has advanced equity in process and outcomes, elucidate strengths on the program that should be reinforced and replicated, elucidate what challenges exist in the program and how they should be addressed, and also recommend a framework for future evaluation approaches and data collection efforts with the goal of continuously improving the CAP. And so the question is, how do we define equity? And so in the past, the past has prioritized strategies that will close environmental equity gaps in air pollution burdens, especially by race, ethnicity, region, wealth, and exposure. That includes hazards and amenities to improve environmental quality and health for all. The president involves partnership throughout the process that centers the perspectives of EJ communities, supports authentic community participation while also strengthening the health and environmental well-being of the entire state. The future considers the future by leveraging funding and other strategies for long-term environmental quality and community health and organizational capacity, mitigates future harm that might result from new policies, and incorporates evaluation metrics to promote adaptable, effective, and equitable implementation. The evaluation process has actually required a comprehensive research on just different documentations um, from different communities to answer the research questions to avoid duplication and sharpen lines of inquiries, including documents from CARB, and other reports, CSC meeting recordings from prior years or more, and existing research on the CAP, including the studies from Jonathan London. And the findings for each community and overall will be compiled and gaps identified before approaching communities for more interviews. And this slide provides a list of preliminary themes of importance to communities and evaluation based on the documents that we reviewed and the conversations that we had with the design teams. This provides an overview of the themes that were identified for each of the five communities that will be part of this evaluation. However, as you can see here, outlined in red, these are some of the preliminary themes that we felt are important to chapter. And as you can see, they range from vehicle traffic to emissions sources of concern, pollutants of concern, environmental quality improvements, and governance and process issues. Um, the evaluation process includes data collection, which it requires to develop interview protocol, and the goal is to interview 10 people per community, and these are the interviews will include CSC's members, Air District staff, key environmental justice voices in the community, servant incentive recipients. We will aim to conduct these in person, on-site visits, attend 2 to 3 CSC meetings per location if they're still meeting. The evaluation process will involve a quantitative analysis. We will also assess progress towards overarching objectives articulated in SERPs from study communities and assess progress and on outcomes. Little existing quantitative research, like on the why communities get to choose their own strategies and data collection varies across them. There's a lack and inconsistency of data availability across communities. Health outcome studies are beyond the scope of this evaluation. Data challenges and statistical power issues, pros, challenges for such analysis, and among other items. And the quantitative analysis, the work plan and goals, it will include to assess trends in emissions, how have emissions changed within the AB 617 community versus within the surrounding areas. What are the trends in exposure? How have exposures to harmful air pollutants changed for residents in AB 617 community versus the surrounding areas? Also, data gaps and opportunities. Where are the opportunities for informed air pollution monitoring and tracking? In addition, um, this will, the question is, how are we going to use monitoring data? We're going to use monitors deployed and maintained by the state and federal government, community monitors, which includes low-cost sensors deployed as part of the AB 617 by communities, exposure trend validation. Do our model estimates line up with what the ground measurements tell us? And monitor sitting analysis are the monitors that have been placed in the communities adequately capturing places of high concentration. And the evaluation process, finalizing the results, include presentation of preliminary draft report, evaluation results to CARB, the design team, and other interested parties, incorporating of feedback, finalization of short and long versions of the report. This is a timeline. Right now, as you can see, there are four main steps, and currently we are in between steps 2 and 3, which is connect with CSCs for input to identify their priorities and recommendations for field work, and actually doing the field work. The goal is to complete this by 2027, where we do our analysis, writing, presentation. So this slide presents based on the research that has been done and past evaluations. This slide really provides an understanding of what we think we know about Schefter. And this presents the process strengths, the process shortcomings, outcome strengths, and outcome shortcomings. From our understanding, some of the process strengths includes the SERP action item trackers that were developed, the third-party facilitators, the subcommittees, the interest group representation, participatory budgeting, and interactive workshops. The outcome strengths include community resilience, statewide benefit, budget reallocation, regional benefit, and responsive infrastructure planning. However, there's some process shortcomings, which include industry-aligned opposition, early confusion, charter inconsistency around voting process, and language barriers. The outcome shortcomings include potential distrust of public benefits. And so finally, just we want to thank you. We want to thank you. We will be reaching out for interviews.
This is Diana. Thank you so much, Connie. My follow-up question is, you said you'll be reaching out for interviews. Will you be reaching out directly, or would you like CSC members to contact you, or are you doing the outreach? How will those next steps work?
Vanessa, would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. This is Vanessa with the research team. We'll be reaching out to folks. We need to include a mix of different sectors of folks who are part of the CSC. And so we'll be reaching out to folks over the next few months. And we may be asking for a little bit of help along the way to be able to connect with the right folks. If you are burning, you have to, you really, really, really want to give your input, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
This is Diana. To facilitate that, could you put an email address in the chat, or if people would like to contact you, how they would get in touch? And then Steph, I see you have your hand up.
This is Stephanie. Yeah, I just maybe wanted to echo and elevate that ask of I definitely this is, it's an important evaluation for kind of the work that's happening in Shafter, and we definitely want to make sure that the voices, I think really a crucial part of this is making sure that folks that have participated in this process for so long are represented in the study. And so I know a handful of folks have already participated, and I think there's still, room to get more folks involved, which is why Vanessa and Connie have come back again. So definitely want to encourage that participation, and you may also get a phone call if you haven't already from me. Also maybe just helping to connect the dots there as well. Vanessa and Con, if you do want to drop your emails into the chat, that would be awesome. But I can also be of assistance to help connecting folks to this research team as well.
This is Diana. Thank you, Steph, and thank you, Connie, for putting your email in the chat. And so if anybody would like to participate or has things to share with the USC research team, please either reach out to Connie, or it sounds also like Steph would be a good person to connect you and make sure your voices are heard. Thank you so much, USC team. To continue with our standing updates, does anybody from CARB have an update for us tonight?
Hi, Diana. This is Mike Alves from CARB. From me, there are no current updates.
Thank you. This is Diana. Thank you, Mike from CARB. The district, I know that you had maybe some updates. I'm wondering, maybe I'll do ask other agencies and then come back to the district if we have a little bit of time at the end. Is there anybody from DPR who would like to do an update tonight?
Good evening. I'm Sarah Mohammadi. No, we don't have any actually updates. We are working on actually doing more community stuff, but my supervisor will get in contact as soon as we know more.
This is Diana. Thank you. And Bianca, I see you have your hand raised.
I do have an update from DPR's website. They have a monitoring day here in Shafter on December the 18th. I don't know if you want to give an update. I am doing some outreach to bring some folks in. But if DPR would want to extend the invitation to the residents, and it's in regard to the monitoring here in La Sequoia.
Hi, Bianca. I will let my supervisor know about that. I was actually scheduled to do a sampling 18-19 myself, but I just switched with my coworker. So I will let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
This is Diana. Thank you, Bianca and Sarah. So I think we have a little bit of time if there are any updates from the district or that you would like to do.
Hi, Diana. This is Michelle. I can go through some really quick updates that we've been doing stuff for our outreach and communication teams. Let me share my screen just so I can give you guys some visuals. Give me 1 second. All right, so if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So just some updates of what we've been doing in the community. We have been doing a lot of outreach. These are pictures of outreach that we've been doing at schools. As you can see here, we've listed some of the schools that we attended and went to their back to school nights. So they're all within the boundary. So some of them are in Wasco. Some of them are in Shafter. We also have continued to do our outreach at the Valley Can workshops. The last one we went to was in September of 2025, and we have one coming up on Monday, November 17th. So if you guys haven't been to those and would like to attend, I will likely be there. I know that we might have someone else from our team attend if I'm not able to. I do have jury duty that day, so hoping that I don't get called in. We did also partner with some of the folks out in La Colonia. We did attend their groundbreaking on September 30th. So thank you to Dora and all the team that was out there. It was a huge event. It was successful. So I know the team did some signups for the Clean Air Rooms program, and we just provided information about all of the different programs that we have and that are available to them. We have also continued to do in-person outreach at just community events. This picture here is from National Night Out that was on October 16th. And then we continue to do our outreach on social media. So if you're not on Nextdoor, this QR code will get you to our agency page, just so you guys can keep receiving that information. And these are just screenshots of some of the information that we send out. And then we have also continued to do Facebook groups. I know that that was one of the big things that the CSC did recommend. So we are also active in the Facebook groups. As you guys can see, this is another screenshot just promoting the air purifiers and the vehicle replacement workshops. And then you guys are getting a sneak peek at our calendar. Our calendar has been finalized and we are planning our distribution. So if you guys know of anybody that needs calendars, we will be mailing them out to the CSC as soon as they are ready. But these are our planned distribution areas. We did send our calendars to all of these agencies, schools. But if you guys have any recommendations, feel free to reach out, and you can reach out to me or Rocio. And then just a quick update on your Clean Air Rooms program. And these are updates as of October 19th, I believe. But we have received a total of 1,499 applications. I'm hoping I get a more updated number, and hopefully we can have that for you guys in an email. But that is it. Let me know if you guys have any questions.
This is Diana. Thank you, Michelle. And with that, I'm going to move us on to the wrap up and next steps. And now I'm going to share my screen. So thank you again for being here all today. This was, I know, a lot of information, and I so appreciate you all being engaged and continuing to give feedback. That's the best way to get this clean air work done, and you're all like doing an amazing job. So thank you so much. Our next meeting will be February 9th. Again, we are now having quarterly meetings, so we will meet every quarter. So the next one is February 9th. And as we do at the end of all of our meetings, we also share the action items. As a reminder, Liz and I wrote these down in real time. And so want to share that what we wrote with you to make sure we adequately or accurately captured what you were saying and did not miss anything. So we captured 3 action items for today. The first is that the Air District will mail hard copies of the SERP update slides to CSC members. The second is that the Air District at a future meeting will share longer-term trends in air quality, starting before AB 617 and going through the time that AB 617 has been implemented. And that the Air District will update the CSC with the amount of funds that the growers from La Colonia applied for the vegetative barriers measure. Are there any action items that we missed or that we did not get correctly? And Liz, I can't see the chat, so if there's something in the chat related to action items, if you could read those out.
I don't think the question in the chat is related to action items, but there is a question from Bianca.
I will
When can
stop
we
sharing.
know if we could get 2 filters per household?
Oh, great question.
And that could be something we add to the action item tracker if it's not answerable tonight.
This is Stephanie. I do think putting it on the action item tracker is great. Something that I think we've shared with folks is that we really want to prioritize getting at least everyone in the boundary one purifier, and that we don't think that's happened yet, so which is why we're kind of working with you all to continue that outreach. But definitely we should put it on the tracker as an option for us to follow up on.
This is Diana. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Liz, for reading that. So we will add to the action item tracker about information about when folks could potentially get more than one purifier. And then our last, Linda also has a question in the chat. It was for folks with doctor's notes, breathing issues. Oh, I think this is a question. Is it for folks with doctor's notes or breathing issues to get the added purifier? Is that something, I'm looking at your square, Steph, is that something that's also part of the follow-up as an action item, or is that a question for now?
I think this is for Linda, feel free to add if there's anything you want to add there. I think maybe this is for consideration in addition to Bianca's comment of
Yeah,
maybe.
it was just something that we had brought up last meeting because they had worked on getting a second air purifier and it hasn't happened. So I asked if we could possibly get a doctor's note or something for those that have breathing issues to get that second purifier. That's what that meant. Sorry.
This is Diana. Thank you for the clarification, Linda. We will add that to the action item. And then the final thing for tonight is to ask for public comment. So if there's anybody here who is a member of the public who would like to ask a question or make a comment, now is your chance to do that. And I will pause for a little bit to see if we have anybody who would like to make a comment. Not hearing any. I will pass it to Steph to give some closing comments.
Thank you, Diana. These 2 hours flew. I wanted to thank everyone for your continued engagement on all the items, the monitoring questions, all of your thoughts on continuing to implement the SERP. And definitely after we send the annual report, I'd love to hear from you all, whether it's a call, an email, we can set up a Zoom call about feedback that you have on the annual report. And I hope you all have a good holiday season. The next time that we'll see you is in February. I'll start to tee it up and we can certainly follow up with you all like via phone calls, but maybe that could be a meeting that we do in person, just something to throw out there. But anyway, I hope you have a good holiday season and then we'll see you all back in February. All of us here are still working through this process, here to support you all. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
This is Diana. Thank you so much. And again, thank you all for being here when it's dark and continuing to work through for your community. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in 2026. I need that emoji where the head explodes, that I can't believe it's going to be the end of the year already. So thank you all so much and enjoy your evening.
Good night. Take care.